I don't even care who the kiss was from. I was so nervous.
U of T would never do that.
No, yeah, and I was just going, wow, there's something about that. I love dating.
This is the show's first date right here. Saving puppies is fucking a good idea. For some reason, I'm a Tom Hanks hater.
What? You're like the only one.
I know, man.
Hey, I'm Brian Cauley.
I'm Dhani Oks.
And this is Constantly Buried. First time I'd ever seen the campus, but the first place I wanted to go was into the newspaper and radio station.
Right.
And a lot of people would listen to that and they would go, so you were...
What do you think is going to happen to newspapers?
Newspapers?
Like, for me, radio, hopefully, radio is radio, right? You need radio in the car. You need radio when you're, running or whatever. Like, audio is audio, but what the fuck's going to happen to newspapers?
That's a tough one. I mean, I get the argument for deep investigative journalism.
Yeah.
And I just watched this amazing documentary called Page One. It's all about putting the New York Times together. And I really recommend...
It's crazy. Like, speaking of organization, the amount of logistics, I would love to see a time lapse of just how one issue comes together.
Watch Page One. Seriously.
Page One. Done.
It's so... You just go, wow, the amount of work to put together one story for the New York Times, let alone an entire publication.
It's crazy. How like, they must have been sitting in their offices, like the execs, when they started. It's like, what the fuck are blogs? It's like, wait, you mean some asshole is getting like 1 million hits on his fucking website, and he, did it for free, and he's not even a journalist. Well, and the amount of energy and fucking time and money it takes us to put out this one fucking day's paper, and some asshole can just go, get a free blog.
That's
crazy.
That point, it was really interesting to hear them talk about, because there's the people from the New York Times who are bloggers, and they sort of juxtapose David Kern, who is sort of this amazing recovered drug addict, who now writes for the Times, versus this very young, hip technology dude.
Yeah.
And the two of them juxtaposed.
I gotta see this. Sounds amazing.
It's fantastic. But one of the things, they draw this sort of map of the amount of news that is from the New York Times that people don't get from the New York Times. So what I mean by that is New York Times puts all this research and energy into a story.
Right.
And then other people start covering it, and other people start covering that, and you hit it. So there's a lot of stuff that you might be getting news-wise that you might not even ever look directly at the New York Times, but a large percentage of that
started right there.
Started at the Times. And so they said, if the Times falls, and these are obviously advocates for the Times, but they're saying if the Times falls, there is going to be a large impact. And
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, right now it seems that we, let's say there's no newspapers, there's no like centralized place where people basically report news. Like, what's going to happen is, like, we all have to piece our news together we all have to aggregate it from all these different sources and trusted blogs and this and that, right?
Yeah, it's tough because there's certain people, I mean, the access to information and the access for people to broadcast information has greatly increased. I think of everything that happened in Egypt and how social media sort of allowed for all this stuff to happen, and that's incredible. So you asked me where do I think newspapers are headed, and I can't say for newspapers, but I think the area that reporting is going into is trust that things like Twitter and Reddit are going to put out the what's happening stuff really quickly, and that deeper investigative reporting is for the storytelling and the analysis. You talk about being great organizers of information.
Yeah.
I think journalists have to really look into their organizing and drawing conclusions, or pointing people to go, look at how these 10 things come together, and sussing things out. Because,
but is there a need for organizations like news organizations anymore? I mean, or is it going to be like that star, reporter, let's say, who has a great blog and is able to, get real stories out there in a way that's doesn't have to be censored, or you have to pander to sponsors, but is able to put out content online very quickly for free, and also able to interact with the people reading it, to begin to follow up on some of the points. So like what's the need for a central news organization?
I think it's got to switch from being, when you say the word central, is let go of the idea that you are a holder to the key of information. That was old days. It's gone. Forget about it. Like,
right. And that's how it was, man.
That's how it was.
It was.
And if an organization holds on to that, they're gonna fail, because it's kind of insulting to other people. It's kind of insulting to our intelligence. Like, we are all smarter because we have access to more.
And you know what, man? Info. Like, being like, I've had a few interviews for articles about nutrition and fitness come out on newspaper, radio, whatever. And knowing the process and how much information I gave them, and my particular approach to presenting the information, these are to reporters, and seeing the end product, I got totally, I just completely fell out of love with newspapers, because I saw what they wanted to pull out of my words, and the story was only there to fit their particular perspective.
Oh yeah, it's weird when they come, and I kind of hate this, whether it's, and I've had the same thing. I've had my words twisted, and I've also been in interviews where it's so apparent that there's either a bias or there's an agenda.
Yeah.
And I'm going, your agenda should be get the information.
Yeah, because like they're not even reporting, they're editing in a major way.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, to me, that was what I felt. I'm like, the first time I ever saw my words in print, or when I was in a story, I was so excited. Like, I opened up the paper and I read it and I felt like raped because I was like, man, that's not the point I wanted to get across. They just pulled out whatever words that fit their particular idea of what they wanted me to say. And it was a horrible experience for me. And I just see this and I'm like, wow, looking at the news and looking at the media, I'm like, it's right now, mainstream wise, is super, super awful, super disappointing.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no wonder. And I don't even feel bad that newspapers are going under, or maybe even news organizations are suffering, because I think they have to take a look at what they're doing. I think they've pandered to like the lowest denominator for a long time. And I think we all see through that. And with the emergence of really good podcasts, really good media online, even just people who can, who have Twitter accounts, who just present information, I think we've become much smarter.
Yeah.
In what and much more demanding in terms of the information that we want. We can see through shit a lot more.
Well, you talked about sort of radio and its prevalence, and then the other types of reporting and sort of TV and paper. Radio's the cheapest. The equipment.
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the thing, is like there's a really low barrier to entry. And so I think that there's a lot of people who kind of go, oh, I'm going to tell a great radio story.
Yeah.
And a great story, a great journalist, and I'm talking about factual storytelling, they go, I'm going to go take a bunch of people, get their honesty, and then start drawing the lines. But when it costs more, you've got to get more people to pay for it. And then I think you start thinking about sponsorship and where money's going to come from. And you go, instead of just telling the honest truth and drawing some actual conclusions, we're going to present what maybe is going to get the most number of eyes and ears.
Yeah.
And it's going to sell the most. And there's this just sort of bastardized version of what it actually means to be a great journalist, as you talk about these pressures of newspapers and television stations sort of collapsing. Yeah, they've got to refocus. They go, what is it we really should be doing?
Totally. I mean, just be entertainment. Like, don't even call yourself a newspaper, right? Like, there's no new, like, there's the news component of what you're doing from an idealist perspective is very low, right? It's heavily motivated by other things. You mentioned a few of them. And I think it's really like, like our generation and probably people coming after us will not rely on these major papers anymore. They'll
not in the way they are.
No, they won't. I don't even go, like, when I look for news breaking, it's usually through Twitter or Facebook. And then I'll just go research it myself and try to draw some perspective on it.
Like, I've always gravitated, and this is me as a young child. My parents, like, I remember when they'd have parent-teacher meetings, and the teachers would be like, well, does Brian read? And they go, not books, magazines. They're like, he is just always on top of magazines. And now that I understand things a lot better, I realized one of the things was there was entertainment in it, but there was also reporting in it. But it was because you had to subscribe, and the writers and stuff, for the most part, have to be true to their subscribers. Like The Economist, I can't get enough of that magazine. Talk about something that is just, I think, well done. And I look at, for example, the iPad.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have newsstand, you have digital subscriptions, and I'm like, yeah, yes. I'm short form. I'm going to look at Twitter and Reddit and places like that to get my quick, like, here's what is going on.
I was having a debate about discussion with somebody. We're talking about, well, what's going to happen to bookstores? I used to manage a record store, and at that time it was, the music industry was definitely in a place of transition, Napster and all this other stuff. And we were like, whoa, things are going downhill. And sure enough, there's very few record stores left anymore. And, HMV is essentially, a shell of what it was, and, Sam the Record Man and all this stuff.
And none of the big places. It's like independent, curated.
Exactly.
They're the ones who are opening more and more.
Yeah. And they're selling a different thing. You know what I mean? Like they're selling records, but they're selling, just by the stuff that they choose to have in there and the expertise of the staff or whatever, and the magazines. So, but those are very rare, and it's certainly not, what it was. And so I was thinking about bookstores, and I'm like, surely that has to follow, because the more comfortable we are with reading things off a Kindle or an iPad, books are definitely going to go that direction. And not only that, I mean, environmentally, you can make a really good argument for it as well. And the other the guys I was discussing this with, saying, well, no, man, there's nothing like the feeling of a good book, and I'm sure the same is like the feeling of a newspaper, the sound of it. And I'm like, totally, I completely agree. However, when the record, business was changing, I was like, fuck, man, I don't want to have an iPod with, a bunch of songs which have shitty quality. I want like a record. I want vinyl, or I want a CD. I love opening the packaging. Like, I love it. I love reading the liner notes. I love reading who the people that they thanked, and seeing what the connections are between bands and producers. Like, it was so interesting to me to do that. And the idea of MP3s were really like, okay, well, I mean, if I need them, I need them, but I really don't want to go in that direction. Records for life. And now I'm completely different about it, because I love the idea that I can have any song, anytime, anywhere, and especially from an artist who might not have gotten his CD to a shelf on a record store in Toronto, some guy from across the world. I love the fact that I can just quickly, it's like, oh, have you heard about this guy? No, let me check him out. And I can just listen to him right away, or I can go to RDO or something like that. It's amazing. Like, I love that. I wouldn't change that for anything. Like, I feel we can get way more music. Do I miss that experience? Yeah, I do, but I can live without it. I feel that the ability to get music is more important than that. And I feel books are the same way. I feel like the next generation, they'll be like, oh man, I love the way when you buy a new ebook, it gets downloaded, and I love the first time, it flashes on a screen. Like, we'll start to replace our our need for feel in different ways. And I definitely feel that we're going more digital. And the other thing that was really interesting, I did a course with Charles Poliquin, world famous strength coach. And he was saying, he's got a lot of tips for success and how to do things to get really successful. And he's really big on reading. So reading for him, you've got to read like 16 hours a week and all this stuff. And this dude reads so quickly. He photo reads, like speed reads, and he does it so quickly and he goes through so much information that turning a page takes time for him. So he's like, because I got a Kindle and I was able to turn pages way faster.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, whoa, that's really
That's what
cool.
actually speed reading, one of the first tips in improving your speed of reading is increase the speed at which you turn a page. So if you think traditional...
Have you done a speed reading course?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, because I grew up with my sister and she has, she's just naturally is a speed reader.
Yeah.
And I was ridiculously jealous of her. Like,
wait, hold on a sec. I gotta talk about this. Cause I'm gonna take another speed reading course. And I've been playing around with this. And I honestly think that I'm looking at like the amount of time I can invest in certain things in my life, and I got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I gotta perfect my speed reading because I feel that I would be better at everything if I could just read faster. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just invent that neural implant that allows me to download books like from iBooks straight into my consciousness, because that would be fucking amazing. That being said,
you might have to wait on that one.
I'm waiting, but that would be awesome.
Dear Apple.
Yeah. How bad would it be? It's like, and my buddy who's a doctor, it's like, how long did you stay? How long were you in medical school? Oh yeah, and yeah, okay, your internship, yeah, and how much money you spent? Okay, cool. I could just download you for like $9.99. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm a doctor now. Like that's fucking
like that
cool.
scene in The Matrix.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I can fly a helicopter.
Damn, I'm gonna see The Matrix again.
Oh yeah. Well, go watch
that movie. Is so wise.
Go watch the new Wachowski film, Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, I want to see that. That looks
really similar.
Really? Okay.
In a lot of cool ways.
I saw the banner, like the advertisement on the bus and across the bus, and it was cool because it went from like olden days to like future days. I'm like, whoa.
Oh yeah, and what's awesome is the cast is really small. It's really small because they all play a bunch of people, and but it's like
it's just about connection through time, from what I
essentially can see. Yeah, it's totally a film about connection, and
is it out?
Yeah, I saw it in IMAX.
Oh, you saw it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was
done. I'm gonna go see it.
Yeah, it's like it's awesome. I mean, Tom Hanks plays like 6 people in it.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Fuck. All right, I have to give Tom Hanks a shot. For some reason, I'm a Tom Hanks hater.
What? You're like the only one.
I know, man. You know
everyone loves Tom Hanks.
I know, but it comes back to it. I was a huge Pulp Fiction fan.
Okay.
I loved like Tarantino's heyday. I was like a huge fan. It changed my life in high school. And I remember that year Forrest Gump won the Oscar and it beat out Pulp Fiction. I was so mad.
Oh.
Because Pulp Fiction is just a brilliant
I wish
movie.
we were in a time where a film like Pulp Fiction and what was the one you said?
Forrest Gump.
And Forrest Gump, yeah, like came out in the same year. Like we are lucky if we now get a film that epic once a year.
I'm trying to think what was like the last epic. I still haven't seen Moonrise Kingdom. I got to see that.
It's pretty awesome.
Probably not epic though, eh? It's not Royal Tenenbaums epic.
I don't know. I really loved Moonrise, but then someone said to me they went back, they watched it like when it opened, and they watched it now. And because everyone says that's the thing, this sort of like test of time. Like I remember I watched Moonrise twice, opening weekend, loved it, and I'm a huge Wes Anderson film. But I'm thinking, is it gonna? I mean, my favorite Wes Anderson is Life Aquatic.
Really? That's like
every time I watch it, it gets better.
All right, I gotta watch that movie again. I think I've.
But I like watch it. Yeah. I don't don't even know if I watch it once a year.
Soundtrack's good.
Oh yeah, I was at
David Bowie in Portuguese.
Oh, I was at a bar and that came on after the bands had all played and stuff, and it was that little techno sort of thing going on. It's just like underneath all the music and super iconic. And I remember watching Moonrise. One of the first things the person I was with said is they go, "This did not have the soundtrack that any of the other Wes Anderson films had," and I was like, "Ooh."
Because it's always Rolling Stones. It's always like some other, like maybe some Beatles-ish kind of stuff.
There's always something like like usually Wes Anderson takes care of every aspect.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is he went a different route. He played, he played the symphony from Benjamin Britten.
Right.
And so it's this very sort of symphonic kind of thing. So I don't know.
The nail in the coffin of one relationship for me was her lack of knowing who Wes Anderson was. I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
We got nothing to talk about. If I can't talk to you about Royal Tenenbaums or Rushmore,
Wait,
we have nothing.
It's like you don't know who Wes Anderson is. I don't care.
Yeah.
What's worse though? You meet someone, they don't know who Wes Anderson is, or they do and they can't stand him. Like they can't stand the films. They've seen all.
You know what? I would rather I know who he is, but I can't stand him.
Okay.
Like that would be a much better one. Like I think we could still work it out. Because I feel that maybe unless she was really dumb and she's like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like that would be a bad situation.
Oh, I have
to decide if it was a matter of taste or are you just not smart enough to understand like what was it? Because if you were like a really smart artistic person and for some reason you had, just like I hate Tom Hanks. Like
you could articulate
I don't know
why.
It is for no good real reason. He has been in some real shitty movies, but like it's just because of Pulp Fiction, and but yeah, maybe she just for some reason hates like Owen Wilson, for some reason or whatever, the Wilson brothers.
Yeah, they could explain it. I mean,
they could explain it. I would consider some therapy to reconcile the differences.
Well, you can respect someone who can explain their standpoint.
Totally. If it's intelligent, it's like, you know what, I didn't really like the cinematography and the storylines or whatever. Like, okay, I'm like, cool. At least we can have a discussion and have a heated debate, you know what I mean, about it. And it's like, I just like the passion, that's fine. But if it's just like, I don't know Wes Anderson, like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. We went to see Fantastic Mr. Fox and I'm like fired up. I'm like, yes, I can't wait to see this movie. I love Wes Anderson. She's like, huh? Who? And I'm like, what? Seriously? You don't know who Wes Anderson is? I'm like, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that on the spot. We finished the date and then it was.
So she saw Fantastic Mr. Fox.
We saw it. Great movie.
And what did she think of it?
I don't remember, but I think it was just like she didn't appreciate it like on the level that I would want someone who potentially would, carry my seed one day to appreciate it. I don't think she had the genetic requirements to create an intelligent life form with me. So I was like, all right, Wes Anderson. So I think that's like for me probably, the deal breaker questions, that's probably on the list. That's top 5 for sure.
Yeah, when it's potential mate, your standards just, I think, skyrocket.
Oh, you fucking scrutinize everything.
Yeah. And I think you from the outside, people hear it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so particular. You can't be that difficult." And you're going, you potentially, even on some deep level, are looking for someone you are going to spend a significant amount of time with, up to the point of you might be thinking the rest of your life.
That's why first dates are so excruciating, because it's like you extrapolate all this information from the smallest little statement. It's like, it's like, so you really like cupcakes, eh? And you're like thinking, like, fuck, she likes cupcakes. God damn it, she's gonna be fat. You know what I mean? It's like, so what's your mom look like? And you're like extrapolating all this information, and you're just like, God damn it. It's like, do you go to the gym? No. Fuck. You're gonna be really out of shape when you grow old and all this other stuff. So you kind of get into these I guess processes, and it's horrible. It's like the worst thing. So I don't know, like a first date, I'm just like, you know what, you got to do something. Do not go to a restaurant. Do not talk. Do something like go to paintball, go karting. That's probably a good first date.
Okay, to ease the level of scrutiny that's going on.
Totally, because it's ridiculous. I hate it. So it's not that's my dating advice, ladies.
I like interviewing, so in a way, it's...
Oh man, that's perfect. First date, you should be going on a first date like
I love dating.
This is the show's first date right here.
Yeah. I think sometimes though
Yeah.
I scare people off because I can be like really intense about stuff.
And they're like, what the fuck? Like, stop asking me questions.
Yeah, or they'll ask me something.
Or you like, you like produce a microphone from your jacket and you're like, so
Yeah.
speaking of the mic, please.
But yeah, I just need to find someone who's, you know, really into like audio and like interviewing
So
and stuff.
are you into audio? I
Yeah.
don't know what I'd say to that.
No, that's how you'd say it.
If
but
you asked me that question, I'd probably leave.
there's probably
Who isn't into hearing shit?
who's like
Who isn't into audio? It's ridiculous.
you get the people who'd be like, yeah, and they'd start listing all these producers
It's like, no,
and
I'm
they'd be
mute.
like, boom.
Yeah, I was. Oh my god. That's a whole other story.
Yeah. It's,
We'll help with your dating situation on a subsequent show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should probably mention the name of this show podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Probably talk about all that stuff. We just went rambling for like
Constantly
an hour and a
varied. I actually wanted to do, and I don't know, getting into it now. This is constantly varied. But the whole thing about the name.
Yeah, the name. I love the name.
Yeah.
And it's true. If you've been listening this far, if you've made it this far, constantly varied is essentially what you've heard. And I guess the term comes from, it definitely comes from CrossFit. And that's how Brian and I essentially first met. In that
CrossFit brings people together.
It does bring people together. And it also makes you wear knee socks and talk about burpees and annoy your friends with all.
I'm taking partial credit to the knee sock thing.
You're pretty known for your. Oh, the best was I was like going through an Instagram and it was like the photo, and I knew it was you because I think you had just come from the gym, and it was some girl, and I didn't really know her, but for some reason we're following her on Instagram, and it was a picture of you in line at like Price Chopper in your socks, and the caption she wrote was like, and you were like carrying some like mangoes or some shit like that, like something healthy, and you had your socks. And I forget what she wrote, but it was really funny. It's like, wow, weirdest scene at a supermarket because you're wearing your socks.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, that's Brian Cauley.
Oh man, you know what? I'm probably all over this new.
You gotta roll those socks down, man.
No, never. I wear my socks loud and proud.
Oh shit.
This new car service that is kind of like Zipcar, but
Cars to go.
Cars to go. You can take your car from one place, drop it off at another.
Yeah, it's like some green pea. It's like connected to the green pea system or something.
Yeah, and they had an event. They had a launch event. And so lifetime membership, sign up for free. And they had all these food trucks.
Lifetime membership.
Yeah. So you come in, you sign up, and you get a ticket for a food truck.
Yeah.
And
sounds good so far.
Yeah. And so I like bolted there right after a workout. And so I'm
in your socks.
Oh, I'm decked out in the socks and the tights, and like, so all my friends are just like, they totally get it. And then other people are like, you just came and worked out. And this was like right before Halloween. And then other people, I remember I was like walking around, and you have like the people in their business suits and stuff, like joking. They're like, haha, what are you dressed up as? And I just wanted to be like someone who cares about fitness. Get out of my face.
You sound like a CrossFitter right there.
I know. So I saw myself.
Rule number 1 of a CrossFitter.
I was just
make sure to establish yourself as a CrossFitter. We're like the fucking vegans of fitness, man. We're like, what was the joke? It's like, how do you know there's a vegan at your party?
How?
How can you tell there's a vegan at your party?
I don't know. You
don't have to. They'll tell you in about 2 minutes. Right? So it's like, CrossFit is the same fucking way. It's like, hey, nice to meet you. It's like, you shake hands. Like, sorry about my hands. They're still bleeding from my vicious workout.
Right,
you know what I mean? So it's hilarious.
I do have to admit, yeah, I love talking about CrossFit. But I have to watch it because there is that sort of, that whole thing we were talking about with intensity. It's like, you don't want to come across as too intense about it.
Yeah, like more people know about it, and also, the good stuff comes out, like, media is covering it quite a bit now, but also the negative side where there's a lot of people doing it who are like insane and who do it really poorly. They injure themselves or other people. And that's definitely a risk of anything, you know what I mean? Like that comes with everything, I guess. So you can come across as this crazy culty kind of dude, you know what I mean?
The kind of person that yells at you on the street about their socks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's one particular guy, the American we were talking about earlier, who did like 3 workouts before noon. He, he came in and we started talking, and like the second sentence after hi was like, I knew his PR in his squat. Like he told me like right away, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's kind of ridiculous. It's like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, so what are you talking about? Whatever. Where it's like, yeah, hey, how you going? Oh, I already squatted today. My PR is this, but I'll do it again. And I was like, fuck, man, just like relax. It's cool. I appreciate that you're really passionate and you're in a CrossFit gym and you expect me to be really passionate about that stuff. But we're still human beings and we still don't like to be crazy. So just chill the fuck out. So I constantly worry. I mean, I guess back to almost the original point that we were making in the beginning, but excuse me. But yeah, I just like people to relax. I think maybe that's been a theme for this entire show is the fuck lax,
Yeah, like when we were talking about like the whole breathing thing and balance, I was actually, one of the things I was thinking about is imagine you couldn't do it. Well, you could do it for everything. Before you reacted to anything,
yeah,
you took one slow inhale.
Oh man, that would change so many things. Like you could avoid wars.
Yeah.
Take a breath, North Korea. You know what I mean? Take a breath, Israel. Like you could literally change so many things. I'm doing a lot of work in a course in some of this stuff. Just the ability to filter information and make real good decisions based on the information you get. And a lot of times we don't question the information we receive, like from in terms of our senses, our perceptions, whether it's our hearing, our vision, or whatever. If we just take a breath to reevaluate something before we react, things change. That one little thing will change a lot.
Yeah, because I've noticed I bike absolutely everywhere. It doesn't matter how rainy it is. I am on my bike. I love it. I can't really stand a lot of other modes of transportation. And it puts me in a lot of scenarios where my adrenaline just gets shot through the roof. Whether it's rainy and so my brakes aren't great and I'm having to like dodge through a car that all of a sudden decides it's going to throw on its brakes, or I get cut off at a street corner. And I recently got cut off at specifically Broadview and College or Carlton or whatever it is on the East End, and lost it. Just lost it on this person because I know that I felt like my life was threatened. But I go, if I took one deep breath in, I probably would have sort of re-engaged into my cognitive abilities and gone, you want to get a point across here. And that is, don't cut people off, especially cyclists who would be severely injured by your large van that you're driving versus this person is probably going to drive away and be like, whoa, that dude's just fucking crazy.
Exactly. And they would have completely missed that point.
Yeah.
They were a douchebag for...
Yeah, like, it's just like, I can teach you something here.
Yeah.
And just that one breath.
That's some enlightened shit, Brian, because, I mean, I think that, you're able to recognize, all right, fuck, I'm pissed. I want to get my, rage out on this guy.
I remember the line
I
remember the line I said, too. I go, when we get hit, this is me talking, representing all cyclists. And I'm like, when we get hit, you drive away, we die.
Yeah.
And I was like,
car versus bike, car usually wins.
Car usually wins. But yeah, had I taken a breath, I probably could have.
It's true. You could have, in that action, you could potentially have made that guy think differently in some other thing. You could have saved someone's life. Like, not to be all like fucking like grandiose about it, but it's true. And I think a lot of us, when we make a point, we kind of just, we want to make the point. We kind of want to feel better about something in ourselves. So whether it's just, lashing out in anger or whatever, and it comes out and we think we're doing the other person a service by, like, they've got to know what the truth is. You know what I mean? But we're not really doing that.
No, and that person may not give a fuck.
They might.
And they're all they hear or see or interpret.
Yeah. They just see you angry. And of course, like, nobody accepts anger. They fight immediately. That's our instinct.
Yeah, they're like, I don't even want to look at you right now.
Yeah, like, if I yell at us, like, motherfucker, like, it's like, saving puppies is fucking a good idea. And just because I'm yelling at you, you'll be like, I'm like, fuck you. You gotta kill puppies.
You're saying something really good.
Right.
I'm not listening.
No, you just disagree automatically, right? So this is the nature of every fucking argument, okay? And so just taking a second to realize that, all right, I'm going to sacrifice my fucking ego and delay any gratification I get from this rage moment. And I'm just going to say, listen, all right, this person made a fucking mistake. All right. They're not correct. They're wrong. What can I do here to better the plight of cyclists? It's like, dude, I didn't see me, but you got to watch out. Whatever. There's a lot of bikes around. Maybe you're not from here, but, just be careful next time. And be like, you're right. Sorry. Whatever. Life is good. You know what I mean? So you can have a decision and maybe that floats your boat. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you just want to, I think road rage, man. I know so many people who are the nicest people. Like they are salt of the earth, Gandhi, Mother Teresa people. When they're in a car, they become raging assholes. Somebody just like cuts them off a bit and it's not even a big deal. They just go ballistic because they need that release. And because they're in a car and they feel protected, they're just like, bah, right? So there's a lot of that I see. And I think we all have this kind of road rage sometimes. And it happens a lot on the internet. I'd say, you go to YouTube comments, go to any YouTube comment, and you'll see road rage in effect where people just like unleash their fucking fury on some poor person who just wants to post their cute kitty video.
Yeah.
Actually, I should take that back because cute kitty videos need to be stopped. I'm just saying. But go on.
I'm back and forth on the cute kitty videos.
No, they need to be stopped.
There are some good ones.
They need to.
I don't know. This is you and I divided.
We might have to break up over this. The show might need to break up over this.
It's funny. I feel like all these things are sort of in a way like challenges to people listening. It's like if Danny is against cute kitty videos,
I'm fucking throwing it out there.
Inundate.
I saw one fucking kitty video.
Change his mind.
Which was awesome. Okay. Many people have seen it. Okay. And this was the video. And I'm sure, and it was basically, this like family of naturalists or like zookeepers or some shit. And they went into the wild and suddenly these two lions like come up and they just these lions look like they're about to attack them, but they start hugging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so these people had raised these lions, since they were like little baby lions, little puppy lions. And now these lions, they went to the wild. They're like, here we are. And then the lions just found them.
Yeah, like they remembered.
And I'm like, that is awesome. That's a cute fucking cat video, right?
Yes.
Because they're lions, And since,
I remember when someone showed me that video and they were like, oh, you got to see this video about a lion in the wild. I was like, really? Like another cat-inspired thing, like something crazy about animal. I've seen it. And like, no, you haven't. And like, I sort of sucked it up, gave him the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, that one's pretty awesome.
That one's amazing.
It's the cat video thing. It's like, I was having this conversation with someone else.
Don't you want that? Like,
oh yeah.
At the Academy of Lions, wouldn't we want to have a lion just kind of chilling? Maybe
only by the lion's choice.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
I would want a lion to be like this.
Who wouldn't want to come? If you're a lion, why would you not want to come to the Academy of Lions?
But why?
Why would you not want to?
Why are there no?
That's
lions?
where lions belong. I want to be at the fucking zoo. That's like Academy of like everything else, but like Academy of Lions. That would be awesome.
Come hang out. But I was food photos on Instagram.
Over it. I'm over it. Food porn. I'm over.
Oh yeah, I was like, you know what? This was something cool because there are some like amazing looking things, but guess what? Not everyone's food is awesome looking.
It's not. I'll tell you what. And this may be slightly asshole-ish of me to say, because I promote nutrition, I promote eating well, primarily through like a Paleolithic, gluten-free, primal type of diet. And I want people to make changes, and I recognize that. As part of that change, when you start eating foods that you're not typically accustomed to, and you might have to celebrate them a little, like, oh, look how good my bacon and eggs look, or look how good my steak and asparagus looks. Like, it's amazing. Aren't you jealous that you don't have this right now? I'm totally cool with being paleo because I have this delicious, like bison and whatever, like fucking sweet potato thing going on.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. I love it. It's good. I'm just like there, but I would hope it's kind of like cute baby pictures when, you know, your best friend, you know, has a kid and it's like just baby pictures on Facebook forever. I'm like, there's a statute of limitations on that stuff. You know, get it out of your system, whatever, you know. So I'm basically making a direct comparison between, you know, food porn and baby pictures.
What you're saying is like, it's awesome to feel, it sounds like at least, it's wicked that to feel like happy and proud of something.
Absolutely.
And sort of want to show off. Recognize though that understand your audience, basically, which is a principle in any type of broadcasting. And I think now that, guess what? The mic and the camera and every other sort of tool of making media is available to most people, you know, that maybe don't know these lessons.
Yeah, it's something that could be kind of self-indulgent. As we say this, I realize that, I don't know how long we've been talking, for about an hour and a half. Maybe this is self-indulgent. I don't know. I guess it's up for people to decide. I hope not. But it's true. And maybe it goes back to that whole thing with newspapers and blogs and stuff. It's like, yeah, you have the right to say things, and it's never been easier to say something and make it look really cool and professional. Is it something that needs to be said? Well, I guess, you know, society has to determine that, you know, and that's cool. That's really what free market is. It's the ability to make choices. And if you suck, then you suck, and that's cool. And hopefully, even if we do suck, then we'll have enough chances to get better and better and better and not suck so much after a while. So I think people, my whole point to all this, like, you know, posting photos of food, I'm not entirely against it. I'm just saying sometimes it can be a little much when it's clear that the person's getting neurotic about it. It's like, I need to post my food.
Yeah, because I won't be like necessarily sort of against anyone, because it's free speech, and if that's what you want to say, great, say it. I think, is that all you, like, you have an audience. Think about that.
It's true. And I think we don't on social media pay attention to enough to our messaging.
Yeah, like you have an opportunity.
You have an opportunity.
When that dude who cut me off, I was like, there was a block of people. And that's part of the reason I felt bad. I was like, there are a block of people who are now going to watch a representative from the cyclist community and a representative from the driving community interact. And driving community won in that scenario. And anyone who listens to me after can calmly hear me explain and go, oh yeah, person cut you off. That's really dangerous.
Do you think the cyclist community is going to throw you out now? It's like,
not.
bro, you totally fucked that up, man. You should have like hit that guy. You're fucking out.
I hope there's enough people.
Give us your spokes.
Yeah, your spokes are revoked.
Oh, and we should mention that at the academy we're getting a bunch of bikes in. Our good friends and sponsors, Bikes on Wheels, is going to give us a bunch of bikes to use as trainers upstairs.
So now maybe
throw bikes into our workouts.
We're going to have more people who are being introduced to cycling. And
yeah, well, we want like, I'm not a huge fan per se of doing pure spin as like your only means of fitness or cardio or whatever. I think it's, you need to diversify.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is get real bikes in that encourage you to actually, you know, bike outside. So there's going to be real bikes on trainers, meaning if you've never seen one, it's basically, it allows you to take any bike and make it into a stationary bike just by putting this little thing on the wheel.
Oh, yeah. I know a lot of people who, when they can't be riding outside.
Yeah.
Because they'd rather, it's
a big thing in like the competitive cycling community.
Yeah.
And they do some cool shit, man, because they'll have, you know, this virtual reality course. And so they'll have this projected on an LCD and it'll be run through, or like a HDTV. It'll be run through a laptop, and it's this crazy setup where they're actually, you know, they're doing the Tour de France, let's say. And as the screen shows them ascending a hill, the resistance changes on the bike. And so it gets harder. And to me, that is amazing. It's much more interesting than doing a spin class. And I know I'm going to offend people who do spin classes. That's cool. But because in a spin class, it's like, okay, go harder and faster. You're going up a mountain. it's really hard to get that kind of feeling. You know what I mean? I think that when you do fitness, there has to be some sort of really very integral outcome to that. Not just work harder, but whether it's finish faster with better performance and better technique, or lift heavier more efficiently. There has to be something rather than just work harder. Work harder doesn't make sense. We don't want to just work harder. We want to work more efficiently. So I find that's like a really good way to go. So when we look at doing these bikes indoors, what we'll probably do is combine them with, we'll do like some intervals on the bikes, and then do maybe some push-ups or pull-ups or gymnastic type stuff, some kettlebells, and we'll sort of combine them as circuits. It'll be really fun just to add a different element to the workouts. So, and Bikes on Wheels is hooking it up, which is awesome because they're good Toronto people and they do a lot of really good stuff.
Man, we should do part of a future episode where we are on the bikes.
We'll totally. We'll do it. You know, we should do a bikes episode. We'll just put that on the list. And I guess back to
put that on the list. And I think anything else, like if you are listening to this and you have an idea, I want people to send in ideas of what they're interested in. If there's something that they don't want us to check out or something,
we reserve the right to disagree. Just saying.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty game though.
So I guarantee you the first posts will be like, I'm interested in baby pictures, kitty videos, and
just to mess with you.
Yeah, and
see I will gladly get a stack of like cue cards and just hold them up to you. And just see how I can like get you off topic.
Son of a bitch. Well, there is no topic. There is a topic. There is a topic roughly, but I mean, we were just talking about the show.
But it's constantly varied.
Yeah, we're like, I feel like there's this like, in the process of the show, there's always going to be this pull to bring it back to some kind of subject. But I mean, the whole, where the name came from is from the CrossFit community. And when I initially got into CrossFit, long ago, this is before CrossFit was really anything. It was still like maybe, just a few gyms in Canada, like a small handful. And I started doing it, started reading the literature that they had put out. This idea of constantly varied, functional, high intensity movement, which is essentially the basis of CrossFit, is doing things which have a variety in your programming. So it's not just doing the same things every day, every week, kind of in the gym. It's to create variety, because life is variable. So you should train for life. So, you know, if it was the original CrossFit idea of training athletes, training people who were not necessarily athletes, but needed to be equipped for a modern world, right? Where you had to lift heavy things or keep up with kids. Or if it was in the military, where you'd be constantly faced with very random elements and you weren't really prepared for. The idea was to prepare for those by constantly varying your inputs as workouts. So you would be doing different things like kettlebells, rope climbs, pull-ups, sometimes in one workout, or some other days you'd just be doing straight up weightlifting to build your strength. Sometimes you would be just, running. So it was this idea of doing these really functional movements, which are defined by, their range of motion and how pure they are to our own sort of motor patterns, meaning things like full body squats or pull-ups or climbing ropes. Those are functional movements. Something like a bicep curl is not considered super functional. Not that it's not useful or necessary for some people, but it's not considered really like super functional unless you're a bodybuilder, then it's very functional. But for most people who are athletes or regular everyday you and me's or soldiers or police, something like climbing a rope, lifting a really heavy object, or, whatever, jumping, running are considered optimal. So this idea of the CrossFit community came out, and it really started to revolutionize the way people started to train. It wasn't a new idea, because people had been doing this stuff in martial arts or in Europe, like Russia, for a long time. They had been doing a very similar type of thing. And we have these old bodybuilding magazines at the Academy of Lions, and they show a lot of the same stuff. It was really interesting. So that's kind of where I really started to fall in love with the system of training. And I shortly after I started doing this stuff began to get accredited and educated in it, and did a lot of education courses, certifications, and took it on professionally. And then, here we are several years later at the Academy of Lions, where I met you, Brian, and we started, talking one day about sports, I think, and baseball.
Yeah, your Phillies hat. I have family in
Yeah, that's
Philly.
right.
I was like, oh,
You're like, are you a
cool.
Phillies fan? I'm like, not really. I'm a fan of the hat. And,
Yeah.
you know, so.
And it turned out you actually did, you know, you actually do like baseball and stuff. So I was like,
I play, as a kid, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I just like horribly not amazing at it, other than being able to, you know, hit a little bit. But yeah, like we just talked about baseball and talked about radio, and we had some common interests.
yeah,
You know, and so just to go on from there, and I know we've done a few little things together and some podcasting. We did the School of Hustle podcast, which was cool. That was a good project, and even a previous kind of version of this.
yeah,
And I think the idea was to take a lot of the values and the lessons we've learned inside the gym and to bring them out in another way. And I find there's a lot of really, really great podcasts out there in the fitness world, and they cover so much good information. You know, the Rob Wolf podcast, I'm a huge fan of, obviously. And a lot of inspiration comes from that. And they cover topics really great, like very thoroughly. You know, Greg and Rob cover it well, and they're very entertaining, and it's fantastic. And I think what we wanted to do was not only talk about things that we experience in training, and maybe some ideas about health and nutrition, but even just all the other things that surround. And this idea of constantly varied was really interesting, because the training we do is constantly varied. And also a lot of the people we meet inside the gym and in the community are constantly varied. They're from all different walks of life. It's what really attracted me to CrossFit in the beginning, is that, you know, you, Brian, were at the academy and you weren't this big meathead, right? I don't think you are.
No. If anyone,
Yeah,
I hope that'd be weird if someone's like, no, Brian is like a big meathead. I'd like to meet that person.
well, some people that you know, they're like, Brian, that fucking meathead.
Yeah,
Like, all he does is talk about lifting.
Yeah,
his deadlift and his squat. What an
there are
asshole.
probably people I've come across, and yeah, if you are that person,
I was knee sock porn, motherfucker.
get in touch with me, because how you see me is interesting.
Yeah. I would say you're low on the meathead scale, and which was cool, because there was constantly varied people, which I love. There was artists, there was doctors, there was lawyers, there was musicians, there was tattoo artists, you know, radio producers. And it was cool to see them all in the same room doing these really intense workouts and being in sweats, and nobody really knew who each other was. And after that, there was this huge amount of camaraderie that happened, and everyone was really supportive of each other. And I think that to me opened up so many doors to our consciousness, and to be able to meet different people and explore their ideas. And it was all through this medium of just, you know, challenging yourself. So to me, it's like this idea of constantly varied is really, really interesting.
Well, it kind of taps into CrossFit, and I think one of the reasons I like it is, on the surface, what's fun with something that is constantly varied, like CrossFit, doing it every day, something different every day. It's just exactly that. It's different every day. It keeps you interested. Behind it, when you either have been doing CrossFit for not even a long time, just even a bit of time, or if you actually get into sort of the science and stuff, the benefits of that. But then when you talk about the people we meet and having conversations with them and exploring new ideas, constantly varying, I think, the viewpoints even that you look at. Like going, I want to read something written by someone who I completely disagree with. Like, so many people have read Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. And
that asshole.
And but it's like, this was a dude who you can look into his perspective and you can learn from that. I believe Absolutely. You can learn from anyone.
Absolutely. And folks, I'm Jewish. And so this is totally legit in saying this. And I think a lot of the flaws we get into, and especially in the Jewish community, is that, you know, we're just like, we don't want anything to do with any information that comes out of there. And I've seen that happen in the past. I'm like, yeah, you got to learn from even crazy people. You have to try to understand where they're coming from. Anybody who's been able to do anything, and I'm not comparing anybody to Hitler, please. But even when I look at different coaches and different organizations, I'm always interested in what their perspective is. There's something to learn. And I think for me, it's cool. This show is a good way to explore different perspectives and to look at the things that are behind the training. You know, agree or disagree. It's really important that we do all that stuff. And back to previously when we were talking about this idea that, like things coming from newspapers, and sometimes, newspapers have very strong editorial positions and they probably exclude a lot of information because it doesn't fit their editorial policy.
Right.
And that's dangerous, right? It's dangerous to sequester yourself in information because that's all you're going to see. You're going to have very myopic. So for this, it's really important to explore different ideas, good or bad, and just to understand different perspectives. So hopefully we not only really look at, I guess, the very nitty gritty of training, but even things like exploring some what you consider more out there or esoteric ideas like breath syncing and binaural frequencies and training. Like that to me is interesting. Like I feel. Yeah,
that's why I said I'm sort of suggestive, just because I don't know everything that's out there, and I want to be pushed, like in whether it's sitting here talking about something with you, or I go away and someone says, try this thing out. I just read this thing, quote on Tumblr, and it goes, when was the last time you did something different? When was the last time you did something new?
Sounds like a great potential Apple ad.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, when was the last time I did something completely new that I'd never done before? And there's a lot of sort of theories and stuff about doing something different every day. Constantly varying.
Totally. So this, I'll use my radio voice. So anyway, this program is proudly supported, of course, by the Academy of Lions.
What?
AcademyLions.com. So if you need yourself some gym training, some Olympic weightlifting, some CrossFit.
Good coffee.
We also have a fucking pretty sweet little general store with an espresso bar. We keep it real. Our machine is flown in from Italy. AcademyLions.com. Check it out. Also, good friends at Chad Magazine, Chad Quarterly. We're also sponsored by Sully Wong, sneakers, and also lifestyle good. Oh, Bikes on Wheels. Got a shout out to them.
Yeah, they're cool dudes.
They're awesome, man. So that's who we got for now.
For more information, check out our website, constantlyvaried.net.